Hello, boys and girls. So today, I we are going to be working on our Once Upon a Time unit, and our objective for today is we will think and plan how we can adapt a traditional fairy tale. So I am going to read, and you are going to follow along to this book. So Glass Slipper Gold Sandal. So this book is actually an adapted version of Cinderella. So I'm sure most of you know the story of Cinderella. Most of you know the traditional story of Cinderella. So we are going to think about how we can turn this Cinderella, how an author can turn this Cinderella book into, another fairy tale, an adapted version. Now, this story is very interesting because they put together the story of Cinderella from different countries and cultures. So when you follow along with me, you'll be able to notice that they have a lot of different countries and cultures here where they actually talk about Cinderella, and it's going to be very different from the traditional Cinderella, but you will definitely see some similarities also. So while I'm reading, I really want you to just think about if you were writing a book, if you were writing a book about Cinderella, how would you change it? How would you adapt it to be your own book, to be your own fairy tale? Because you will need to write your own fairy tale soon, so it needs to be, needs to be different from the original one. Okay, so let's start. Once upon a time, there lived a wealthy merchant whose wife had died. They had one daughter, gentle-eyed and good-hearted. Down the road lived a widow with two daughters. The woman gave the girl treats when she passed, pan dulce to eat, sugar cane to chew. The girl knew that her father was lonely. You should marry the widow, she told him. She's nice to me. The father had his doubts, but the girl kept asking, and how long can a father say no to his daughter? And so he and the widow were married. But no sooner had the stepmother moved in than she began to order the girl around. All day long she set her to weeding the rice fields and cooking and carrying. The woman gave the girl's room to her own lazy daughters. At night the girl had nowhere else to sleep but curled up for warmth among the ashes of the hearth. Her stepmother allowed her only a few scraps of food. Her stomach howled, and the girl recalled how she'd beg her father to marry. I picked up the scorpion in my own hand, she told herself. She vowed not to complain to her father and upset him. But when the girl was out tending the cattle, the beast heard her crying for hunger. Don't weep, said one of the cows, and the animal poured honey from its horn. And the fairy gave her figs and apricots, and the godfather snake gave her rice. And once she was eating well and proper, the girl bloomed into a right rare beauty. The stepmother couldn't fathom it, and meanwhile her own sour-faced daughter would curdle the milk if they looked at it twice. One day it was announced far and wide that the great king was in search of a queen. All the unmarried women dressed in their finest robes and set out for the palace. To make sure the girl couldn't go, the stepmother threw an apron full of lentils into the ashes and ordered her to them out, pick them all out. "And scour the kitchen pots too," she hollered. As soon as the stepmother left with her daughters, the girl burst into tears. Outside, the sparrows heard her. In they flew and picked the lentils from the ashes. Then a witch woman came in and spoke a spell and jumped the pots and scoured themselves. And up jumped the pots and scoured themselves. The girl was free to go, but she had nothing to wear except rags. Then she looked at her mother's sewing basket. Then she reached into a hole in the birch tree. Then a crocodile swam up to the surface, and in his mouth was a sarong made of gold, and a cloak sewn of kingfisher feathers, and a kimono red as sunset. And on the girl's feet appeared a pair of glass slippers, diamond anklets, sandals of gold. "Walk to the ball?" said the girl's auntie. "Never!" She picked up a big red breadfruit from a tree and tapped it 3 times with her wand. Quick as a blink of a firefly, that breadfruit changed itself into a coach. Then she made her entrance. So great was her beauty that the musicians stopped playing. No one, not even her mother, knew who the beautiful stranger was. All night the girl danced with the headman's son until the first rooster crowed. Then she remembered she had to leave at once. She leaped onto the mare's golden saddle. "Who are you?" called the prince. The girl had no time for words and charged down the lane. The prince sprinted beside her and got a hand in her shoe, and the dainty thing pulled off in his fingers as she galloped away. The king declared he would marry the golden shoe's owner. He ordered the women of the court to try it on, but none could squeeze inside. And so he went searching for its owner, up and down mountains and across deserts, until he came into his stepmother's house, where she saw him approach. When she saw him approach, she grabbed her stepdaughter, wrapped her in a mat, and hid her. "I'm certain the shoe will fit one of my fine favored girls," said the woman. Grunting and sweating, the older woman tried to wrestle the shoe on, but couldn't. Neither could the younger. Just then a rooster began to crow. "They put the ugly one on show and hid the beauty down below." The girl was brought forward. "Don't waste your time with that one," said the stepmother. But the magistrate looked into the girl's eyes, took the straw sandal in his hand, slipped it onto her foot with ease. She and the great king were married at the palace, where the guests feasted on mangoes and melons, rice seasoned with almonds, beef stew, lamb stew, meat cookies, and custard. Such a wedding it was, and such an adoring couple, and such a wondrous turn of events. And people today are still telling the story. Okay, So now that I read this, it was a very interesting story, There's a lot of, now you can actually see how Cinderella is told in a lot of different ways in different parts of the world. Okay. But our main focus today is what will happen once we try to adapt our own fairy tales, make our own fairy tales. We know the traditional story of Cinderella, but we need to make our own, just like this author made their own. So I was just thinking, I was like, hey, so Cinderella, the traditional story, they used glass slippers, right? But I said, hey, oh, and in this story, they used golden sandals, right? But I said, hey, what if my Cinderella in my story used Converse? What if she used flip-flops? Flip-flops come out pretty quick, easily, right? If you're running in them, you can't. They just fall out. So hey, what if it was flip-flops? Or what if it was Uggs? Hey, who knows? What if it was flats or boots? I don't know. So this whole column here, I took the glass slipper, which is one essential piece of the story Cinderella, and I just said, hey, I have a different idea. I don't want to use glass slippers. I want to use Uggs. I want to use boots, Now, in every Cinderella story, they also have a bunch of chores that she has to do. And in most of the Cinderella stories that I've read, they've usually had Cinderella, cleaning and cooking. But in this story, they had her weed the rice fields and tend the cattle. They also had her pick lentils from the fireplace. So I want you to just take a moment and think about how you could how you can change up the chores that Cinderella could do instead. When you write your own fairy tale, this is what your thinking will need to be. You'll need to adapt a traditional story into your own fairy tale. Okay, so thank you everyone. I hope you enjoyed the story. See you later. Bye!